It hadn't been planned, nor had Sansus thought much of it once it happened. He is an assassin, running an organization full of other assassins. Parenthood had never been in the picture. Living long enough to even think about it hadn't been in the picture. Being told there was a pregnancy hadn't changed that. She's just some woman he picked up in some event or the other. That said, Sansus may not be father material, but he's not a deadbeat either. He took Teresa in, accepting her desire to not live amongst assassins by paying her a condo. He made sure to provide the best medical care that they would want for nothing. When she gave birth, Sansu stayed away to respect her wishes, but he did visit once she permitted it. He picked up his kid, and for the first time in years, he ran for the hills. She's a tiny thing with a surprisingly strong grip, but it still takes her entire fist to hold onto his finger and Sansu's. He's not the kind of man who knows how to be delicate. He has no idea how not to break something so innocent, and his only idea of what a father is like is either Timoteo or that fucker down the street when he was a kid. The one that knew nothing but the bottle. He guesses he's doing alright there, at least. He makes sure there are people on the payroll who know what they're doing, keeps his wallet open and shows up every now and then. Just enough to make sure the kid knows who Sansos is and confirm that the kid is healthy and happy, that she has all that she needs to be happy. It works. For 4 months. But as soon as Sansos relaxes, concentrating his attention on research so that he at least has a technical idea of what's going on, Teresa gets the bright idea to run off. That's fine. Sansos has no claim to her and has no intention of holding her hostage. If she had run off on her own, that's her decision to make. Now the kid is an entirely different story. The kid is Sansos' baby. Even if he were to disregard the possible future liability, that's still some random woman who thought she could get away with stealing a bongola. It can't stand, and it's Sansos' fucking kid. No, fuck it, he refuses. So Sansos gives himself a second to take in the empty bassinet before he turns to Squallow. Find them. On it, boss. They're not even difficult to find. The dumb bitch. She went straight to Bongola's enemies. She probably thought that they'd protect her from Bongola, and they will keep his daughter. That much is true. Teresa is a dead woman. If they didn't get rid of her, he will. Sansos isn't about to stop and let some no-name pieces of shit keep his kid as a hostage or a broodmare or some shit. He doesn't hide that the Berea is mobilizing, doesn't give a shit about Sawada's or Timoteo's reaction. By the time he arrives at the mansion, most are already dead. He catches 2 men fleeing and shoots them without breaking stride. Luxuria guides him to the correct room, both of them ignoring Belphegor, who is gleefully cleaning up any survivors. Squallow opens the door for them. Sansos keeps moving, only coming to a stop in the middle of the room. He eyes his gun for a moment, refusing to scream or blast everything to Kingdom Come. His daughter is safe and sound, asleep in her bassinet and in front of it, a little bruised and battered, is Teresa. Teresa's short blonde hair is a mess, her lip is split open and trembling. Sansus? Sansus snorts at the tint of hope there. Move. He gestures to the side with his gun, slipping in the silencer. I don't want her covered in blood. To her credit, Teresa draws herself up, chin up and back straight. You'll raise her. She doesn't make him repeat himself. Not some nanny, not your people. You. She's your daughter. She lowers her arms. Promise me. He doesn't owe her jack shit. Not after all of this, but she did grow the kid for 38 weeks and spent an entire day bringing her into this world. Fine. 1 shot between the eyes. It's not pretty, but it's quick. Sansos lowers the gun, gesturing for a lackey to clean up. Cremate her. Have her buried in the chapel. It takes a while for Sansos to pick his daughter up, mostly because he wants to wait for cleanup to be completed. She's 4 months old, her eyes aren't even fully developed yet, but he still wants to avoid her catching sight of the bloodshed. She babbles when she catches sight of him, smiling up at him with a delighted coo. Sansos hesitates, But he's read enough, talked to nurses. At this point, he's not getting any better until Sangsu starts getting hands-on experience. His hand can cover her entire skull. By the time Sangsu does pick her up, she's more or less amusing herself. She babbles when he holds her to him, tiny fingers holding his feathers. Sangsu lets himself relax a little, the fast-paced, furious thoughts he refused to acknowledge before this finally dissipating. You and me now, huh? Squalo says nothing, but his daughter coos. Sangsu takes that as agreement. Do we have a seat for her or something? No. Squalo makes a face. We didn't think they'd be stupid enough to keep them here. Then drive carefully, trash. She falls asleep in his arms, trusting enough to be humbling. It seems wrong, he thinks, to use the name Teresa gave her. Sangsu pets her cheek with a finger, slumping down in his seat. What about Juliana? That's a beautiful name, boss. Sangsu takes in Lusuria's eager smile, noting the honesty in his expression before he nods. Juliana it is. He turns to Squalo. Go, report to the old man and Sawara. I'm on vacation until I say otherwise. Until he feels confident enough in what he's doing that he thinks he can handle both work and parenthood together. Perhaps surprisingly, Squalo's progress are low enough that he doesn't wake Juliana up. But he does as he's told, walking into the Ironford with a determined set on his shoulders. Sangsus pretends not to notice, but he does nod at Levi to follow. He's not new to gratitude, but he wasn't expecting the feeling now. Sangsus shifts in place for a moment before moving. He walks silently, unbothered by the lack of light. He knows the way, no matter that he's been living in the castle for years now. He grew up here, has perhaps as many memories of this place as he does of Sicily's streets. His old room is clean but untouched in an almost eerie way, like Timoteo believed that Sangsus would turn around and come back any day, that the room needed to be a Bible, just in case. Sangsus sits down on the bed, carefully setting down his daughter in the middle of the bed to take off his clothes and put aside his boots. Juliana makes a small sound of protest, her tiny face scrunches up into a pout, but instead of crying, he stuffs her fist into her mouth. Sansu smirks, stopping to stare. Are you even hungry? Juliana gurgles, but Sansu takes that as a no. She likes stuffing things into her mouth, and he has nothing to feed her anyway. Lusuri is likely already dealing with it, but Sansu takes him anyway. He drops the clothes on the floor, uncaring of the mess, and picks his daughter back up. We're sharing tonight, okay? He's unlikely to sleep, but he figures he can trick her into sleeping. She's a calm baby, or that's the impression he got from the times he was allowed to see her, and he remembers Teresa cuddling with her. He doesn't rest well. Sangsus dozes most of the night, and is thankful that she sleeps until 6 in the morning. Small fingers grabbing Sangsu's own larger ones tightly. It's when she starts sucking on his fingers that Sangsus decides those cute noises mean she's hungry. He picks her up, shrugging on his pants and forgetting about the shirt for now. In summer, it's not like it's needed, and the scandalized staff can fuck off. He pads barefoot to the kitchen, hoping that Luxuria managed to deal with it. He ignores Croquant's double take as he makes his way, making note to leave early before Timoteo can ambush him properly. Luckily enough, the cook takes one look at him and whirls into action. Hopefully, it won't take long, because Sangsus recognizes the look in Juliana's eyes. It's similar enough to his before Sangsus finally cracks and starts breaking shit. He sits down next to Sawara without so much as acknowledging him, but the younger guy nods slowly, taking in the baby in Sangsus' arms. Okay, Sawara yawns, contemplating his empty coffee mug for a moment. Fair. Surprisingly, Sawara isn't only stepping aside, he's fully on Sangsus' side, no questions asked. Sangsus tells himself it's because of Juliana. If he allows himself to think too much about it, he gets a headache. It drives Timoteo up the wall to have Sawara so clearly against him, but Sangsus doesn't care. He gives about zero shits about Timoteo's opinion. Juliana is happy. She's a calm, trusting baby. It's strange. Sansos can't remember ever being that open, that quick to smile, or even that patient. She's inquisitive too, always looking around, investigating the world and chewing on it. She's still tiny in Sansos' arms, and he's still sure he's going to wreck her sometimes. Sansos gets the bassinet and everything else sends to his suite. Looking at the end results makes him uncomfortable. It feels like his space doesn't truly reflect him anymore, like he's living as a guest in somebody else's house. The vacation time helps and doesn't at the same time. It helps in that Sansos familiarizes himself with his daughter. Little by little, he gets more comfortable picking her up, feeding her, cuddling her. He's less wary of breaking her because she's surprisingly sturdy. And it doesn't help in that Juliana might be relaxed and calm and all of those things, but she's also a lot of work. She needs more attention and care than Sansos had been expecting, and he doesn't really know how he's going to handle both work and parenting. Juliana talks, no words but mindless little sounds she makes when others are speaking. According to Sansos' books, that's normal development. He's supposed to talk to her, and because Sansos has both never been the talkative kind and has no idea what a 4-month-old could be interested in, he narrates his day. He tells her what he's doing, showing off whatever tool he's using at the moment, and explaining briefly what it is. It makes him feel like an idiot, but it's sort of cute, and it does make him smile when he realizes she's imitating him. She shows off her toys, babbling about them seriously. Maybe Sansa should smile more, or coo, or something. It's cute to see her be serious, but he likes that she smiles so easily. He doesn't want to be the reason she stops. Tonight, they had a bit of a difficult night. She's a curious little thing, and sometimes that means sleep is something she can be bothered with. Luxuria had suggested co-sleeping. Sansos had been resisting, on the grounds that he's not able to sleep with her in his arms. What if he rolls over and suffocates her? But he's going to have to learn to deal, because otherwise they're reduced to these naps and both of them end up in a terrible mood. Juliana has Sansos' eyes and hair and apparently his lungs. When the phone starts vibrating on his side table, Sansos picks it up quickly, answering with a whisper. What? Oh, Sansos. Timoteo hesitates. Sansos can't help but find it amusing, though he understands. Sansos is not known for lowering his voice. Is this a bad time? It's always a bad time when Timoteo is involved, but he's going to keep bugging Sansos, and with Juliana asleep, better to deal with this now. What do you want? Baby, Croquants are you with? We do not take hostages that young. He waits for a reply, and when he doesn't get one, he adds, the CISO were eliminated. There's no need for one. Trust Timoteo to jump to conclusions. Sansos cups his daughter's back. No hostages were taken. That stops Timoteo in his tracks. Sansos ignores the prolonged silence, concentrating instead on the small intake of bread Juliana takes as she wakes. She stretches, her small fingers grabbing hold of his shirt. Sansos rubs her back suddenly. He usually wakes up. Sansos ignores the prolonged silence, concentrated instead on the small intake of bread Juliana takes as she wakes. She stretches, her small fingers grabbing hold of his shirt. Sansos rubs her back suddenly. She usually wakes up like she finds the action offensive. Sansos can relate. Playtime? It helps get her active enough for tummy time. Sansos, is the baby with you? Timoteo sounds perplexed. Sansos scoffs. He knew from the moment he was forced into launching a rescue mission operation that there was little opportunity to keep Juliana a secret for much longer, but that doesn't mean Sansos is about to introduce her. He disconnects the call. With Sawada, they plan something of a reveal. There's no keeping Juliana hidden, and unless they throw Timoteo a bone, the man isn't about to back down, so reveal it is. A control scenario makes Sansus feel better about this, and Sawara, at least, seems to understand Sansus's desire to keep Timoteo as far away from his daughter as he can. With Sawara backing him up, and Juliana being this young, it will be easy enough to keep Timoteo away. Especially since, for now, they're living in Baria's castle, and Timoteo is under no delusions that he's welcome there. Sansus kept the condo, but he's not planning on living there, and his assassins know better than to mess with his suit. The condo is kept clean and organized, but empty. As far as Sansus is concerned, that's Juliana's. She can choose to move there if she feels like it, when she's old enough to make that decision. Or rent it, or sell it, or do whatever. It's hers. Sansu steps out of the car, bouncing his daughter in his arms. She's teary-eyed and red-faced, all in all, in a terrible mood, and Sansu can't blame her, because so is he. Maybe they're feeding off each other's misery. Sansu kisses the crown of her head, taking in the iron front in front of him with a pinched expression before he moves. Breakfast, and then they're gone. That's all he's willing to risk. Squall and Luxuria flank either side of him. Takeshi opens the door for them, smiling warmly at his daughter and laughing when she hides her face against Sansu's neck. The shyness is uncharacteristic. She's usually all for exploring the world, but Sansus doesn't mention it. He stalks forward, his jacket flaring behind him and the skull in his face making sure people stay out of his way. Takeshi opens the door of the dining room for him. Sansus never breaks his stride. He drops down on the empty chair in the middle of the table between Sawara and Timoteo. Squalo and Luxuria ignore their chairs, standing behind Sansus instead. Good. Morning. Sawara smiles awkwardly, sending something of a warning glare at Timoteo's guardians. Hard morning? Sansus snorts, looking down at his daughter when she coos. Sansus helps her sit down on his lap, her back to his stomach, but he takes away any cutlery she could harm herself on. Of course, the first thing she does is grab a fistful of the tablecloth and shove it inside her mouth. That better be clean. Juliana looks up at him. She shows him her fistful of spit-covered cloth. Her bubble's still a little sulky, but her mood seems to be improving. Sansus hums, petting her messy dark hair. It doesn't usually go into your mouth. What does it taste like? She babbles back, answering with an enthusiastic high-pitched squeal when he snorts. Okay, he turns to Luxuria. She's probably going to be hungry any moment now. Timoteo leans forward before Luxuria can do more than nod. Sansus's hand on his daughter tightens when the old man stares, his entire attention centered on his baby. Sansus. Timoteo's hand squeezes his cane before releasing it, fingers tapping the wood. Who could this be? For now, they ignore Juliana's babbled intervention, though Sansus does take the time to smile down at her. Small and not as free as her, but it always makes her beam. He looks back up to Timoteo before the man can comment, his free hand petting his daughter's hair back, the movement calling attention to his daughter's unmistakably red eyes. Are you going senile? No. Sawara makes a sound in the back of his throat, not a warning, but a reminder to keep a cool head. They need this to work properly. The Japanese guy leans forward, smiling at Sansus's daughter gently. She's adorable, cousin. It's the first time Sawara has ever mentioned their familial relationship, and it's unlikely to be a slip of the tongue. Sansus hums, eyeing the younger sky before inclining his head in silent gratitude. Doing that burns, but Juliana is vulnerable and small, and Santos is already struggling. The least he needs is something else to worry about. If I don't keep an eye on her, he's mostly giving up the information as an implied understanding of their new dynamic. She shoves mostly everything into her mouth. Sawara sits back, laughing. Well, if you spit on it, you get to keep it. That's the rule. There's a glimmer of something in Sawara's eyes that makes Sansus uncomfortable. Uncomfortable enough that he turns away, looking down at Juliana instead. And that's it for chapter 1 of Unplanned Parenthood. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up or a comment. They give me life. You can find me at Dear Kite in Archive of Our Own, in TikTok, in Twitter, pretty much freaking everywhere except Instagram. That said, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Have a very nice day. See you for the next one. Bye bye. P.S. Because I forgot to say it, this is a KHR fanfiction.